What up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Alchemy Podcast. I am really excited and intrigued with our guest. It's Zach Seager here, who I would say, given my experience, I know lots of sales reps, probably like pound for pound, I would say the most foundationally strong sales rep that I've met.
Thank you, dude.
Rocking the Utah Hockey Club.
That's right.
They're not called jerseys, right? What are they called?
I don't even know, dude.
There's like
I don't even know anything.
Sweaters. I think they're sweater. I can't remember what they call them.
Yeah, this one's a jersey.
Yeah, but it's like they don't use the word jersey, I think.
Oh, I don't know. Like I literally go to the games and like don't know any of the rules, but I'm there.
So you're new into hockey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so fun to watch, dude.
Yeah. I haven't been to the hockey club. My brother is into it, and my brother-in-law is a big hockey guy, and they love it.
The game tonight if you want to come.
I got to fire it up, huh?
Yeah, there's a game. I'm taking 4 guys if you want to come with.
Well, let's load it up. Let's go to the hockey game. Hockey game. Well, excited to have you, Zach. One thing that that really stood out to me, I came out to Orange County this summer to the war tent. Is that what you call it? The war tent?
War tent, yeah.
The war tent, right?
Yeah.
First off, that was crazy. So I spoke to so many door-to-door sales teams, all industries this summer. And it's kind of
all
like
over the country.
All over the country.
Yeah.
Like from California all the way out to Florida, everywhere in between. And it's kind of like a similar setup. You go to the office and they got the chair set up. But I drive down, I was living in LA at the time. I drive down to Orange County and we've got a massive tent and a parking lot.
Big team too.
Big team. That was probably the biggest team. How many guys do you have out there?
We had 103 with the cell. So we finished the summer like I think low 70s, low 80s, somewhere in there.
That's good attrition, too.
Yeah. It was a great squad, dude.
103 people with a sale.
When you came, I bet there was like 85 people in that tent.
It was packed.
Yeah.
It was a packed house. And
they did like 11 mil. Like
say again?
They did 11 million.
11 mil.
In that office.
It's insane numbers, right?
It's a big squad.
First off on that, I wasn't planning on asking this, but in the sales kind of like community, from my perspective, what's nice from my perspective is I talk with solar guys, alarm guys, pest guys, meat guys, roofers. And one thing that I would say is a common belief is that California is a tough market. And there was a moment the solar guys loved it a couple of years ago, and it's like that wave's gone, and this California deal's tougher. But you guys crushed California.
Oh yeah, that was our first year. Our second year as a company there, but we hadn't been there in like 2-3 years. So it was cool for us to go there. We actually opened the branch. So I got there. There was 1 truck, and then 2 weeks later, 103 sales reps showed up. So we didn't have a choice but to figure it out.
How did you have an area issue? I mean, cutting up area for 103 guys, turf seems kind of intense.
Orange County, it's unlimited.
Yeah.
So we had all of Orange County and then all of like that inland Empire stuff.
Yep.
So area wasn't an issue. What was like an issue was routes and technicians at the beginning, because we only had, a couple of technicians at the beginning.
Yeah.
So that was tough.
So you brought in a lot more trucks.
Yeah. So over time, right, as the branch started to become more profitable, they started bringing in more trucks. But, at the start, you're just figuring it out.
Yeah.
So.
Which is pretty common. You kind of figure out the bumps in the road.
Right.
Tell us real quickly about your personal numbers, because they're insane. Right.
Yeah. So I guess backstory of me, my first summer is 2020. I sold 400 accounts.
How'd you get recruited?
Oh yeah. Well, actually, dude, I got recruited to Vivint.
You did?
When I was in high school, and I went out on like a weekend. You know how you guys used to do like those weekend blitzes down to, I think it was Colorado.
Yeah. Anyway, you go to Grand Junction. Whatever.
Yeah. Grand Junction. Yep. That's where I went. Was there for 2 days. Didn't know anything. I actually hated it because I was just, in high school.
Yeah.
But I knew you could make like amazing money. So I knew I was going to do door to door at some point again. That summer I worked in a warehouse. I was 18. And then I played college soccer that summer in Montana, or that year in Montana.
How was that?
Epic. It was epic.
You loved
dude.
it.
Loved it. Didn't love like the social life, but that's where I picked up, we were talking earlier, fly fishing.
Yeah.
So that's where I started fly fishing like a ton. And then I came back to Utah, went to Utah State. And
so were you, when the soccer, when you're doing soccer, did you like, hey, I'm done playing soccer, I'm gonna go back to Utah to school? Or did you like try to come play soccer here?
No, I was done. So I played there for a year. Yep. And then I was like, to be honest, I was like, these guys are substantially better than me. Like, it's just time for me to hang up my boots.
Yeah.
So I hung up the boots.
Was that a difficult decision?
Yeah. Like growing up, that's all I did. Yeah. So anyways, hung up the boots, came back, went to Utah State, I like fly fished every day at Utah State. Had horrible grades.
That's like one of the best spots in the world to fly fish.
Oh, it was epic. Would go into Idaho. So you're only 20 minutes away from Idaho, and then like 35 minutes from Wyoming. And then you have all of that Bear Lake stuff up there. So it was fun, dude. But yeah, I failed accounting. I was there for 2 semesters, failed accounting twice because I was never good at school. But then all my roommates were returned missionaries.
Okay.
And for some weird reason, dude, like they were always like, they just had like this happy energy, stoked vibe about them that I couldn't understand. And I grew up Mormon, but like I never could understand why they were so much happier than me. So then I went on my mission to Chile, and it was like dope. Was there for like a year and a half almost, and then COVID hit. While I was on my mission, my cousin, who I'm close with, her name is Ella, married this guy named Michael, who works at Grit. And he had made more than my Vivint manager at the time that I knew before. And so I was like, oh, well, I mean, if he makes more and its pest control seems a little bit easier, then I'll just go try that. So I, like, before I even came home from my mission, I knew I was just going to go with him.
Yeah.
Because like
you
my
already
dad,
locked in.
Yeah, my dad was telling me all about it. Because, you know, he had a new truck and he had a house and all these things. And my Vivint manager didn't have that.
Curious, and I want to go back to it. This is just kind of a interest question.
Yeah.
What happened on your mission when COVID hit?
So
how did the church respond to that? I don't even know.
Yeah, basically, well, dude, kind of the same time. Chile was weird because at the same time they had like a civil uprising. So they were redoing their constitution when I was there. Like it was bad, dude. Like I got tear gassed.
No way.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So what do you mean you got tear gassed?
So we were on a bus and there was a riot happening. We were riding the bus to go take money out for like emergency funds, essentially. And
so what, you're like in a state of like, oh, things are getting kind of chaos.
Dude.
I need to get our cash out.
Yeah, the church like instructed the missionaries to go get some cash and basically get like groceries and food for, you know, a week or 2 weeks and just hunker down. So we went there.
Were you scared?
Yeah, it was pretty sketch.
Yeah.
Sketch. Anyways, we went there. And then the bus was driving through like a kind of around a riot, and tear gas like was all over the place from the police. And we were on the bus. So it was like hurt so bad, my eyes and my nose.
What does it feel like?
I would imagine like pepper spray, but it's just burning. So anyways, dude, so come home. I'm home for 3 days and then I go out and sell. So I don't even know this kid, Michael.
So you get tear gassed in Chile. And
oh, yeah. Anyways,
I'm coming home. Yeah.
Yeah. Then the church is like, hey, so I get tear gassed. I'm in the apartment.
Yeah.
Same time COVID hits.
Yeah.
They send all the missionaries home.
So you went home early.
Yep. Went home early. I rode Delta One. It's like, I was so excited, dude.
You're pumped.
I was stoked.
Yeah.
I was actually kind of hyped.
Yeah.
You know? So anyways, came home early. You know, my mission was like, you can either wait a year and come back if like COVID's not a thing anymore.
And you had like what, 6 months left?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you can be done. And I was like, I'm done.
Yeah. Wrap it up.
Yeah, I'm done. And then, you know, my cousin who had married Michael, I meet him at a party that night when I get home, like dinner party for me to get home. And he's like, hey, would you want to come out and sell with me in 3 days? I'm like, oh yeah, sign me up.
So you're home for 3 days?
3 days.
We're packing back up.
3 days. My mom was like tearing up. She didn't want me to leave because, you know, I hadn't been home in a year and a half. So then we drive to Texas, and the whole time, dude, like, you know, I'm expecting this guy to train me the whole drive, and we don't talk a single word of pest control, pitch. We're just vibing, like get to know each other. I get there, my screensaver on my iPad is the pitch. And so I don't know anything.
Yeah.
And it's Texas, dude. So like, you know, you're knocking tons of doors. My first day, I was
that
like,
have been hammered.
Like totally
That market
hammered.
has been hit so much.
Hard, dude.
Yeah.
And so my goal was like, I'm just going to go work my ass off. And like, if one drops today, awesome. If not, like, it's okay.
Yeah.
And I sell 2. This is pest control, right? Like, you know,
Yeah.
and it's Texas. Like if they don't have pest control, they need it.
Mm-hmm.
And so my pitch basically was like, hey, do you have pest control? Yes or no? And if they said no, then I would like continue. If they said yes, then I would just run to the next door. And I wouldn't like, you know, walk down the driveway and walk on the cement and walk back up. I was just cutting
through.
Yeah, cutting through the grass, dude. Because I knew I could get one if I just worked hard. So anyways, finally signed some guy up, and I don't know how to use the app.
Yeah.
Because we didn't go over it. So I called Michael. He signs him up for me basically over the app. And then I was like, oh, that's not too hard. And then sold my next door by myself. And then the rest of the week I bagel. So don't sell anything, dude, the rest of the week. I'm like, this is crazy. Like, how did I sell 2 my first day and then
Were you questioning your decision during those days you were bageling?
Yeah, for sure. It's like, dude, I could be at FedEx because I had gotten a job at basically the same time that Michael came home. That same day I got home, I had applied for FedEx and they hired me because COVID, right? Everyone was ordering online.
Sure.
So anyways, I was like, dude, I could be at FedEx making $15 an hour. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
And then I think it was Memorial Day that next Monday, dude. And I sold 11
In a day. So let me ask you this. Because one thing that happens a lot with reps is they go out, they think they're going to go out and crush it. They get reality checked on the doors. And then, you know, they struggle, they bagel, they question, they want to quit, they want to go home. Right. And sometimes you'll hear reps make like negotiations with themselves. Like, okay, if I don't sell by this date, I'm going home. Right. Or kind of made that decision. Did you have something like that in place, or were you like, you were committed?
I'm not going home.
You're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I knew, like, dude, I knew if I worked hard, I would eventually. We talk a lot about the ramp is the way we explain it. You might have heard it through other sales terms, but we basically tell our reps, right? Like, you'll ramp, you'll get better. The summer will get hotter, more bugs will come out, your skill will increase. You know, the team culture will get better. You'll get closer with your buddies. Memorial Day, you'll sell the most you've ever sold, and you'll break through this glass ceiling. Mm-hmm. And so I remember Michael telling me, dude, it's okay. I know you bageled. I know you've bageled the last 3 days, but Memorial Day, dude, you're going to rip.
I loved Memorial Day, man.
It's
dude, when I was at Vivint, Memorial Day was just like, it was my favorite day. The first time I ever 5-spotted, I remember for Vivint in 2012 was Memorial Day. And it was like, oh, this is the day I realized I was good at the job.
Oh, it's awesome. That's what I'm saying, dude. Like, so really, dude, Memorial Day, if a manager is running like an office the correct way, it can change the entire summer for your squad.
Yeah.
Because it's so early in the summer. So anyways, I sold 11 and then I was like, oh, I'm great. Like, that's how my brain works.
What do you think the difference was from going bagel to 11? Like, what did
just
something
belief, you know, like,
talk about that. What do you mean by that?
So all of my managers and everyone that was around me was talking about how great Memorial Day is and how much they've sold in the past on Memorial Day. And like, you know, you basically can't bagel on Memorial Day because, you know, all the logistical reasons, everyone's home. It's a national holiday, but it's not like this big thing where they leave and go on vacation and they're having barbecues and they're in their backyards and they're doing yard work. And so there's all these reasons that, like, logically it made sense for me to sell more that day. So that's why I sold, I think, so well. And I just believed I would.
Did any of your, I hear this sometimes when I'm working with reps one-on-one. Did at any point during the 11, did you feel like you were just getting lucky?
Not that I recall.
Yeah, cool. Because one thing I know about you, but reps be like, "Oh man, my deals were just lucky, right?" And they discredit their sales ability. And it sounds like for you, actually, it felt like you had built kind of a foundation of evidence that you were, you know, performing at a high level.
This job is like, I just don't know if there's some luck to an extent.
Yeah.
I just don't know if there is that much luck in this job.
Yeah.
Like,
that's one thing I say, like, I squash it. Like, you were not lucky. If you had a transaction It's really hard to do a sales transaction at the door. You're just properly prepared to a customer.
You're cold calling.
Yeah, exactly. Right. There's no luck in this thing.
Yeah. So it's like, you go sell. Like I always hear these kids, right? You've probably heard it like, oh, dude, I just got lucky.
Yeah.
Like, oh, the area was better than other areas.
Yeah.
No, dude, you were swaggy. You were confident.
Yeah.
You had tons of energy. You were, all the things you talk about.
Yeah.
So
sales is a transfer of energy.
100%.
Right.
Yeah.
So you rip 11, you're feeling good.
Oh, I'm on top of the world. So then from there, dude, I sold 400 accounts that summer, but it's COVID summer. So it's a shortened summer. It's like 3 months. So then I rip the rest of the summer. I think I bagel like one other time and that's it. And then I come home, made over 100 grand that year and buy myself a brand new truck.
Went and spent it all.
Yeah. Spent 50 grand, on a Tacoma. Thought I was the richest guy ever. Anyways, so I went back up to Utah State actually. And then this guy, Cody Olive, if you've heard of him, he starts like, he's doing it intentionally, but I don't believe it. So he starts like chattering that I can't sell 1,000 accounts my second year, but he's doing this on purpose, but I don't understand that yet. So I'm just like this second year, and Cody had just sold, 1,700 accounts, broke the record. And I'm like, oh dude, I'm going to beat you. Like, I'm going to show you like this next year, I'm going to beat you. So I drop out of school and I go all in. I'm like, I'm going to beat Cody. I do this full whiteboard presentation for my parents on like, this is how much I can make.
Wait, you actually pulled out a whiteboard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whole thing, dude. Like commissions.
You're trying to sell them on this concept.
On letting me drop out.
Yeah. So what was on the whiteboard?
Like I'm going to go sell 1,000. This will be my contract value. This will be how much I make. This will be my commission if I do that. This is how many guys I'll recruit. This is how much I'll make if I recruit this many guys. And this is why I'm going to do it. And so I went through that with them and they're like, okay, we'll let you drop out of school. But if you don't do this, you have to come back. You have to enroll again and you have to go back to school.
So your parents were on board, but they said, if you don't hit it,
sell 1,000.
You sell 1,000, you have to go back to school.
Yep. So I drop out. I moved down here because I'm in Logan.
Okay.
So I moved down here with my buddy Trevin, and he's renting this place, but I'm on like a bunk bed with him. So he's on the top, I'm on the bottom. This bunk bed is so bad that I can't, like, dude, I can't roll over. Like it's that
tight.
It's tight.
It's tight. And
then he's got this, like, I'll never forget, he had this 80-pound like red lab that would sleep with me.
Come on.
And it was just like, so anyways, I'm training. I'm at the office 12 hours a day, training, burning the boats, recruiting. I recruited 25 guys.
What was your recruiting strategy, right? So so one thing I hear a lot too is there's a lack of confidence in first year reps after doing first summer because they're like, oh, I'm not the top guy, wasn't the number one team or the number one office, and there are reps even better than me in my office. What gives me the credibility to go out and recruit, right? So for you in that situation, obviously 400 is really good.
It's good, yeah.
You weren't number one.
No.
Right?
I was like the 5th best rookie that year.
Yeah, right? So what was your angle in recruiting?
Look, dude, I made 100 grand. Why can't you?
Yeah.
And that was the angle. Like and I only, that year, to be honest, dude, I only recruited my good buddies.
Yep.
Like it was pretty much only direct recruiting of people that I knew. And so, my buddies that I've grown up skiing with since I was 10 years old see me go make $100,000 and buy a brand new truck. The pitch wasn't that hard.
Pretty simple.
It was, dude.
Well, the trust is super high too.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Really high trust. These are your homies. You went out and did it. Right. So that had a very similar 2012. I went out 2011 to go to door-to-door. None of my friends went. I tried to get my friends as a rookie. None of them came. I went out and made money.
Right.
And then I came back. I'm like, hey, look,
and they all
works.
Did it.
And then they all came.
Yeah. That's how I imagine. Like,
yeah.
Because you have zero credibility.
Right.
That first year you're recruiting, you haven't even done it.
Right.
So like, why should they go with you?
Right.
So anyways, I go out, like the whole, like my why, dude, is like that year it was kind of dark. If I'm being honest, like it was, like, have you read Tim Grover's books?
Relentless.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like I was fully tapped into like my dark side of like, I'm going to go show Cody Olive.
I'm going to prove him wrong.
He was like, dude, you won't be top 10. Like you won't even be top 10 sophomores, but he's doing this intentionally because he knows that's what's pushing me.
Yeah.
So anyways, I go out, sell 1,000 that year. And it was like it's my first, I ran my own team with Michael that year. Super hard summer,
What made it so hard?
I think your first year managing, it's hard, dude. Like you've never been put in, those positions where like you're having to like body your friends. Like, no, dude, you can't like sit in your car. Yeah. Like, I know what's best for you. You can't do that.
Yeah.
Or like, dude, you're being soft. Like it's Texas. It's okay. They need bugs. It's not that saturated. You can, you can do this.
Yeah. I want to slow down here because, there's a lot of people in Alchemy and there's a lot of people listening to this pod who are new to leadership.
Yeah.
Right. They've seen probably some success on the doors. They've maybe managed a year, but what advice would you give to someone who is going out to go manage a team for the first year when they've only been used to being a rep?
So it's their second year and they're managing an office.
Yeah, so it's like they're maybe
it's their first year ever managing.
This is like finally this is my downline. Like I'm fully in charge of this whole downline. I'm not just a rep anymore. I'm a leader now.
A couple things, right? Like first thing I'd say, you can F a lot of things up if you're leading by example. Mm. So if you're out in the trenches, if you're grinding, if your people see you sweating and you're active in your team chat and you're throwing up deals, you can do a lot of things bad.
Yeah, reps will be pretty forgiving.
They will be, dude. Mm-hmm. Like where I hear a lot of frustrations in recruiting meetings is, my leader sat at the apartments. So even if he was a baller leader, but because he was sitting at the apartments, in the rep's eyes, they think he's just being lazy, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It reminds me of the quote I say all the time in these my one-on-ones is reps will not listen to what you say.
They won't, dude.
They'll watch what you do.
Yep. So, dude, nothing will replace leading by example. Yep. Like nothing will. Second off, I'd say you can't validate anything. And narratives are like the most important thing ever when you're running a team.
What do you mean by that?
So narrative is like, a narrative can be like, for example, let's say there's a rookie and he's like, dude, Texas is so hard. It's so saturated. It's like, dude, you don't know anything about door to door. You've never knocked.
You've worked here for 10 days.
Yeah. Like what makes Texas hard for you? And now if you don't control that, dude, if you don't snip that right in the butt, that spreads through your entire team, just like cancer. And now your whole team thinks knocking in Texas is hard and it's super saturated. So the most important thing you can do, right, is just you got to control all the narratives. And so one of those ways, right, is let's say your team's like, you hear it through this grapevine of knocking poor hood is hard. The best thing you can do, dude, is you get out to area, you have your car partner drop you off in the poor area. You go and rip, 10, 15, 20 accounts in the quote unquote poor area. And now that narrative is dead.
Yep.
There's no way to and you're sending selfies in, you're sending, screenshots of your customers at the end of the night. There's just no way to say you can't sell in poor areas.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, well, what you're doing is you're just leading by example, right? I think the one thing with this job is there will always be an excuse and it can be valid.
Yeah.
Right. It's not like people are making up crazy excuses just to get out of the job. It's like there's validity to what they're saying and you can always change your relationship to it. And of course you're going to have hurdles to overcome. And of course the job is going to be hard. It's supposed to be hard.
Oh, dude, it's so hard.
Right.
And then the last thing, dude, I would just say is you have to hold standards.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if guys are coming to the morning meeting late and you're not punishing them, then the standard is you can come late to my meetings.
What does your punishment look like?
So was anyone late when you came?
Yeah. So when I would host,
like when you came to my war tent, was anyone late that day?
I don't think so. No, I think we were dialed in.
We were dialed that day.
We were locked in that day.
So I do a lot of managers do it differently. So a lot of managers have punishments and they have a dice on their phone and they roll the dice and whatever the number is that's associated with a punishment.
Okay.
For me, dude, I just do like whatever is on the top of my head.
Yeah.
So like kid comes in late. It's like, cool, go run around this building 4 times and come back. And that's the punishment that day.
Yeah.
Other times it's like, go do a wall sit and you're doing the wall sit till I tell you to stop.
Yeah.
And then, dude, it's like you educate them, right? Like your time is not more valuable than all 40 of us in here. 40 times 3 minutes, you just wasted all, whatever that math is. Mm-hmm. So standards, dude, are so important when you're running a team.
What are some other standards, for someone listening to this, like, hey, I want to manage a team like Zach does. Like, what are some standards you have in place?
Knock 30 minutes past dark. Mm-hmm. It's like a standard for my teams. Like all of them do that.
And I love that it's 30 minutes past dark, not 8:30.
Yeah, it's dark.
Because the dark fluctuates. One thing I would say is you knock until there's no more color in the sky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I mean, like our elite reps will have 40% of their deals after 8 p.m.
Yeah.
Which is like, that's a lot. That's a lot of revenue, dude. Mm-hmm. Saturdays, like, if you want to be an elite sales rep, the standard is you knock until 9 p.m. that night.
Yep.
Every Saturday. And you don't get off the doors early on Saturday.
Right.
That's a standard, right? Another standard would be like, don't be negative and always complain up. You never complain down is like a standard I have. So you have something wrong, dude, come to me, but don't go and complain to all of your reps and all of your rookies because that does nobody any good.
Yeah.
So there's tons of standards you could list out.
And I think too, it's just to your point earlier of just like laying out what the standards are and then keeping those commitments.
And holding them, dude.
Holding the line.
Hold the line. Because like if you don't, dude, like
the wheels come off fast.
Oh my gosh.
Wheels will come off fast.
You let a rep be late one day and then now the whole team thinks they can be late.
Yep.
So now the whole team is late. You let a rep be sick or miss 1 day of work or 2 days of work when you know they're not sick.
Yeah.
Now the whole team is saying they're sick and missing work.
Yep.
And then that's hurting your production for your office and your program and so forth.
Those things compound so fast, man.
It's like, crazy, dude.
I'm late, and then 3 weeks later, it's like chaos. Guys are getting off the doors early. It's
hard too, right? Like I think your first year managing, you don't realize how much power you have. And the saying, right, is like if you love your people, you'll hold them accountable. And so like really holding them to those expectations or those standards you've set will help them sell better.
Yeah. How did you learn to have those difficult conversations, right? You mentioned, hardest part of managing was having the hard conversation with a friend, right? Yeah. These are homies. Dude. These are my homies. And now I'm like their superior and I have to hold them to a tough standard. Like how do you navigate that?
It's just that first meeting of the summer, I would rather that be a 6-hour meeting and have all of these expectations or standards laid out and it be dialed. And these guys know exactly what they're signing up for. So like one thing I say in that expectation meeting, right, or that standard meeting is, hey, I know we've been homies up to this point. You are trusting me this summer for the next 4 months to make you as much money as possible and have the best experience possible. Everything I do will be for that purpose. So if I ask you to knock late on a Saturday, that's going to help you make more money. So everything is aligned, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you're basically just you're sharing that our intentions and we have are equal or the same, and that the goal is you guys have the same goal. One thing that got really hard for me, I look back at my career and having difficult conversations with friends I had recruited who we have 10 years of being hooligans together in high school,
right,
and now I have to be like the bad cop. It's really tough.
It's hard, dude.
It's really, really hard. And I look back and I made a lot of mistakes by letting some of these guys slide and whatnot and, letting people off the hook. And also when I did come down on some guys, coming down like super harsh.
Yeah.
And it affected some friendships. And, I look back and I'm like, I could have played it a lot differently had I done what you had done, being like, hey, I actually have your best interest and we actually have the same goal.
Yeah.
And
dude,
so
you are trusting me. My only job is to help you make money. So like when you set that expectation at the start of the summer, you have these conversations. It's like, hey, dude, look, my job is to help you.
Yeah.
What you're doing right now is not helping yourself.
Right.
And then they're always like, cool.
Yeah, they jump back on.
Yeah.
How do you navigate that, right? Managing an office while also having that killer instinct of you ripping insane personal numbers? Like, what's that mindset like?
A lot of it, dude, is, you know, if you can have that, like I said, that first expectation meeting, and it should be an hour, maybe 2.
So this is something you're actually doing. First day of summer, expectation meeting.
Anytime there's a new group.
Yep.
There's a new expectation meeting and I redo it.
So what do you mean by new group?
So a lot of the times, right, like certain colleges get out certain days.
Oh, so like a new group coming into the office.
Yep. So
redo the expectation.
I redo it. You know, if you get there the very first week when I get out there, you're going to hear this expectation meeting 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
So I know, like, you know, by the time, you know, like the last group comes in, it's like guys are almost just, the first guys are like,
okay, so I really want to slow down here because I've never heard this before and I think it's so good.
yeah.
So to someone who's never done an expectation meeting, right? What does your process look like and what are all the things you cover?
Dude, I left my phone way out there, but I have like a full-on note tab of all of the expectations that I've seen go really well over the summers and I've seen gone bad. And so what I've done now is I've basically made like a key list of core expectations that I set from the very beginning of the summer. And then I hold those, like you said, the whole summer long.
And so this is from knocking hours to expectations
Pay,
of the apartments to pay,
rent, how we treat the staff, how we treat our operating partners. You know, like if you're like, one thing I do to, like, if you're going to be mean to our technicians, you can't work for me, period.
Yeah.
That goes the same for like our hotel staff. Like, dude, if you're going to be like a dick to the cleaning lady, we don't want you.
Yeah.
Cause like you represent grit, like you represent our company. And so like, this isn't just you, dude, this is bigger than you. So there's tons of like things I go through, right?
Dude, this
but
is
like,
so brilliant.
so,
Because how many times have you, I mean, I've heard a ton where it's like you bring in a guy, he's fired up, he's struggling. He finally gets a deal and then he has a huge rent deduction that he wasn't expecting. And then he's really distraught. He quits.
oh, dude,
Right.
I've made these mistakes.
Yeah.
So this is why like every year these expectation meetings get better and better and better because I get better at setting expectations. Like one year, we had one of my teams who didn't set expectations about pay and rent deductions. And one of the groups got so upset that they left.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, I'm never doing that again.
Yeah. How do we get a copy of this list though, Zach?
I can send it out.
Send it over. DM the Alchemy Podcast. We'll make a little PDF for it. We'll give Zach some love on this thing, and we'll give that little gift for you guys for those that are listening along.
Yeah, dude, I can send it out. It's easy. So
I love that every wave
dude.
that comes in. And how much time are you spending on this meeting?
Hour and a half.
Yeah.
Maybe 2.
Yeah.
If I need.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe 2. So like I said, like I would rather spend, those first, because really all it is 4 weeks at the most, because 4 different groups typically, maybe 5. And let's say there's only one guy, then I'll just pull him aside at night and do it with him.
Sure.
But if it's a group, then I'm going to do the whole team again.
Yeah. So smart because you're just reinforcing.
You're reminding them, dude.
And getting him back on board.
A lot of the times, right, they'll forget.
Dude, I can't believe I've never heard of this. I mean, I've been a part of this industry for 15 years. This is so brilliant.
Yep.
And I just can replay back in my head all of these summers where I'm like, if I just would have had something like that, it would have saved so much headache.
Yeah, dude, you go through pay expectations, rent expectations, knocking hours expectations, positivity and like no negativity on the team expectations. You go through all of it.
Meeting structure, install times,
technicians.
I mean,
a tech is going to mess up your job.
Yep.
It's okay. That's part of the job. If he messes up, don't call the technician, call me. All these things, right? So
brilliant.
Yeah.
So that makes a lot of sense why you can go sell lights out.
Yeah.
Because
so
expectations are laid out.
That's what I was getting to.
Yeah.
So if I lay out the expectations properly, and one of the expectations, right, is like, don't call me throughout the day. I'm not available from 1 o'clock until 9 p.m. After that, dude,
unless you're dying or in jail.
Yeah, exactly. Like I will answer if you call me, 2, 3, 4 times, I will answer. But I'm not answering your phone. Every question you have can be answered in the group chat.
Yeah.
And then I have these, I basically, when you're running a big team like that, you have these, I call them pod leaders.
Mm-hmm. So tell us what a pod leader is.
So basically it's like one of my core leaders that I want to farm into somebody who can run a team one day.
Yeah.
And those guys, what they do is I run a morning training, you know, from 10 to 11, and I'm training. We break out in role play, and they break out into their pod groups. And then the pod leader can answer any questions from the training, and then they'll role play with each other, and he'll check it off. But the pod leaders, what they also do that's like super important is they report back to me on any bad narratives that are spreading through the team. And we meet every Sunday. So then on Sundays, I know what to talk about on that Monday and what expectations I need to squash, if that makes sense.
What are some other examples of some of these narratives that get out?
Dude, there's so many stupid ones. You've heard all of them. This city sucks. And like this town, like if we're knocking here in Orem, I knocked in Utah.
Okay.
And I have a lot of friends that work at this company, Moxie, and they think Utah County sucks for knocking. I don't know why.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I'm hearing this narrative, and I brought like 4 or 5 of my guys from California for route purposes to knock in Utah for a week. So I'm like, oh, dude, that's not a thing. I'm just going to come here and like rip and show these guys like that's not a thing. So I sold 55 accounts over in Saratoga in a week. And
squash narrative.
so hopefully the narrative's dead now,
Yeah, right.
you know? So I'm trying to think of other narratives like rich hood is hard.
Yep.
Go knock the rich hood. You can't sell after dark.
Can't sell early.
Can't sell
Can't
early.
sell one-leggers. You know.
And all of this, the best way of squashing it is you, the leader, going out and doing it.
Yeah.
And let's say, right, there is some leaders who can't sell at a super elite level, and that's okay. You just have to instruct your peak performer on your team to be your voice and go and do that for you, if that makes sense.
It's brilliant, man. It's so good. Another thing that I took from you, actually, from your, from when I came down to visit you guys this summer, was the mixtape.
Oh yeah, the mixtape.
That's something I still do to this day.
Do you?
Yeah, I still do my mixtape, and I kind of do it. And the whole purpose is to get me into a higher energetic, state. I listen to it every morning on the treadmill.
Do you?
Yeah.
That's cool.
So tell us about the mixtape, because it's something I love. It's a habit that I actually fully embrace that I learned from you.
Cool. Thank you, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I do, I basically write down all of my summer or like my goals, and then I write them down in past tense.
Yeah.
So I say like, the year I did 1.5, I said I sold $1.5 million of revenue and broke the industry record. And then what I do is the recording is probably 2 minutes long, and I listen to this in the morning.
And you're listing all your goals.
Yeah, all of them.
I did this, I accomplished this, I made this, I
was the best rep in the industry. Every day I wake up with, one of the things I remember is I wake up with exponential amounts of energy. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why I told myself that, but, I'm the greatest manager Grip Marketing has ever had. I work my complete ass off and provide tons of value for my people. We won the Rumble, and that's like our big competition in August. So anyways, right, I go through this and I listen to it, and I put, like a song that I like behind it. Yeah. Quieter, right? So I can still hear my voice. But then I can hear like, I'm making mine right now for this summer, and I'm making it as Not Like Us by Kendrick Lamar.
Classic.
And that's like the background, right?
The beat.
Yep. So like the year I did 1.5, it was 50 Cent, I'm the Man.
Yeah.
And like that year I was super into affirmations and like telling myself, I'm the guy. Yeah. Like I'm him. So anyways, I listened to this recording, right, in the morning, on the way to area, after knocking. Usually it's about 5 or 6 times a day I try and listen to it. Yeah. At least right when I wake up and right when I go to bed, at the very minimum. And so what starts to happen, dude, is it's this weird thing that there's a lot of power in identity. And so when you really know who you are and what you've done, you just become those things. And so I've started to do it a lot more actually with Sunday planning. Casey Baugh, right? He writes down 20, 30, 40, 50 things of who am I?
Who am I? That's in my personal experience, that's been one of the most influential habits I've ever implemented, is doing the who am I piece.
It's weird though. Like at this, do you remember your first couple times doing it?
Yeah.
Like you didn't
you can
take
come up
it
with like
serious.
5 or 6 and you're like, and then when you get into it, you're ripping 40, 50, 60 and
And you're
just
going,
flowing.
dude. And what starts to happen is like over the weeks, or if you're doing it daily, a core 5 or 10 or 15, 20 stick. But for me, a lot of the times it's kind of shifting the other 20 or 30, which is cool for me.
And I think it goes too, like for me, it goes through phases of life that I'm in,
exactly.
Right? And it's always changing. One thing I wanted to say on the mixtape too, that I do that I love is like my tonality when I record it in my phone is I'm like, let's fucking go. You're the man. And I just really hype myself up because I listen to it first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
And it's almost like this jolt of like energy. And I'm on the treadmill and I'm just like,
You're stoked.
I have an Odessa song on the background of mine. So I'm just like, I'm ready to go. Like I'm ready to go.
Starts your day off.
Yeah. And I think one thing that's really the foundation of this whole thing is just, as you mentioned, from Memorial Day, your first Memorial Day to where you are now, is just life is a transfer of energy.
That's all it is.
That's all it is.
All it is. If you're, nobody likes to hang out with that negative, sad, mopey kid.
Yeah.
People like to hang out with that guy who's high energy, excited, happy.
Pleasant to be around.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So anyways, I got that from, do you know who Charlie Rocket is?
I don't know that name.
So he's like this bigger, he's probably 300 pounds when he came up with this. And he used to be like a musician. Musician. Thank you.
Yeah.
Horrible dyslexia, by the way.
Yeah.
Anyways, and he gets to this point, dude, where he has, heart attacks, diabetes, all these things because of his weight. And so he does this mixtape and he's like, I'm a Nike athlete.
Yeah.
And I'm a Nike marathon athlete. And he goes through this and he's listening to it every day. He starts running and then he goes and runs a marathon and does a commercial for Nike. And Nike buys the commercial. It's this big thing if you look it up. It's
That
cool.
is so sick.
So that's where I got it from.
Yeah, the mixtape was crazy too, because I remember where it really was helpful is I had a little bit of a speed bump when I was throwing Alchemy Fest this year because the property I was going to use, they went out of business.
Oh, wow.
And so now I was like, kind of like, I need to find a new property and all these things. And so there was a moment like, I can't throw the event. It's too late in the season. I don't even have a new space.
Venue.
I don't have a venue, right? And the old venue, they went through bankruptcy, and so I did on my mixtape. I'm like, I found the most epic spot. I figure it out, right? I always make it happen. This is gonna be the biggest, most badass event ever, right? And I would listen to that every morning.
Yep.
And crazy things happen. I just figured it out.
It's weird how that works, huh?
It's weird how it works, man. So the mixtape is actually for Alchemy members, we have our own morning routine called the 3M and Top 10. What it stands for movement, motivation, and meditation. So it's like, did you move your body, right? Did you motivate yourself through reading and learning and growing? And did you take a moment for silence to kind of reconnect with yourself? And then writing out your top 10 goals. After I learned about the mixtape, I changed it to 4M.
Oh, cool.
So now it's mixtape.
Oh, really?
Right? So now you've got, Alchemy members now it's movement, motivation, meditation, and mixtape.
Cool.
Just to kind of get that energy flowing. So we got to give you a shout out to that, bro.
Thank you, dude. I didn't know about that.
Yeah. It's part of the Alchemy Foundation now. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So sold 1,000 accounts. Then my next year, managed my team.
Was that 2021?
21. Yeah.
You did 1,000? Yeah.
Yep. 22, I did 1,000 again, but my contract value went way up that year.
Yep.
So I sold almost 1.1 million
Personally? Insane.
And then my team just popped off, dude, because I sold 1,000 accounts and I was the second. To that point in my career, I think I was the second person ever as a sophomore to sell 1,000 accounts.
Yeah.
So obviously that made a lot of buzz in the industry and I recruited really well. And then my fourth year is when I sold 1.5 million and broke the industry record by, more than $200,000. And then my team did almost 12 million that year. So I've doubled every year I've done this. And then this last year, dude, what happened, because I sold so well in recruiting meetings, it was well, who's going to train you to sell better?
Yeah.
And it was no one, no one can sell you. So I just was cruising, dude, 12-hour days at the office.
Fish in a barrel.
It was nuts.
That's how you get 103 people out to Southern California.
I recruited way more, we had 5 teams. I did our program did 25 million this year.
Yeah.
So we went from 11 to 25 in, 8 months, 9 months on the off season and just popped off, dude. So I wanted to I had goals to go and sell again this year.
Yeah.
But because unfortunately, right, our leadership grew by a ton, but we grew by way more bodies.
Yeah.
And so we didn't have, necessarily the leadership that we needed. So I couldn't sell. So I still sold almost 500 accounts and did $480,000 of revenue, which is still really good.
Yeah.
But it was cool, dude, focusing more on the systems in our program and growing it. So that was fun this year.
So one thing that I love that actually happened here naturally is that I say a lot too, because I work with a lot of sales leaders and they're always asking, how do I get off the doors? How do I get off the doors? How do I get off the doors? And the actual answer is you get off the doors because you have to.
Oh, dude, you gotta rip me off the doors.
You have to, there's no other choice, but you can't not knock anymore. It's not a decision you make.
Yep.
You literally get pulled off of the doors because your organization's grown so big.
I had no option.
Yeah.
I wanted to go and sell again what I had sold the year before, but that wasn't even a thing.
Yeah.
I couldn't have even done it if I tried.
Yeah.
So anyways, I think that's been one of the downfalls of the space or the industry is these guys get recruited off. Come work here. We'll give you guys, you'll get off the doors in 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And so 3 or 4 years hit and they're still not at that point and they want to get off the doors, where the goal really should be, I'm going to create so much value. I'm going to impact so many people that my people are going to have to beg me to get off the doors.
Yeah.
Last year, dude, my leaders were begging me Zach, we need you.
Yeah.
We need you to call these reps. We need your,
leadership,
your input here, your
leadership.
We need your systems, all that right now. Stop knocking.
Yep.
You're losing us and yourself money. You need to stop knocking. Where it got.
This is so cool because what I've experienced a lot too is the job changes really fast and no one prepares you for it. The job changes really fast and no one prepares you for it in the sense of when you first get started, right? You had a job at FedEx or whatever.
Yep.
Your job was sell accounts.
Yep.
Right. And so you go into this mentality of I need to sell to make money. What happens naturally is this industry will promote top sales reps and your job actually changes and no one tells you.
Yeah.
Where your job changes from sales rep to leadership development.
Mm-hmm.
And no one really tells you that. And so there's this push and pull thing happens where reps are oh my gosh, I've got all of my validation and credibility through my personal sales. And my personal sales might dip because now I'm recruiting. And so maybe I'm doing it wrong. And there's this inner turmoil. And what it seems like you've done really, really well is you continue to sell at a high level and you've fully embraced this new role that your job really isn't to sell accounts anymore.
No.
Your job is to train and recruit and build leaders.
Oh yeah, dude. That's where, long-term you're going to make the most money is when you create leaders.
Yeah.
When you replicate yourself into more leaders, that's when you have so much impact. You make so much more money.
I mean, look at it. You look at any sales company, Vivint,
Yeah.
Grit, Sunrun, whatever.
Yeah.
Number one earner in that company is the top recruiter.
Yep.
Period.
All of them, dude.
Yeah, period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird how that works.
So it's been really cool. I mean, I remember, I'll actually never forget, it was 2012 and I was managing for the first time and Casey Baugh came out to our office and he told me, he's listen, if you want to make great money, keep being the top sales rep. He's if you want to make life-changing money, go be the top recruiter. And that was that light bulb. I'm oh yeah, light bulb clicked on too. But it's interesting is that the prerequisite to being a top recruiter is you got to be a good salesman.
You have to, dude.
Or you have no credibility.
Yeah. It's hard not to dude, it's hard to recruit when you have no base.
Yeah.
Cause you're recruiting people to come and be like you. But if you never sold at a high level, then they just don't respect you.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's a hard thing though, dude. That transition.
It's tough.
From going from, there's so much, instant gratification.
From being the top rep.
Dopamine, right? You go sell, that day you sold 5, right? Or the day you sold 6 or 7, you're stoked.
Yeah.
Everyone's dabbing you up, in the morning meeting, they're shouting you out. And then you transition into this recruiter and this manager and this regional or, director of sales. And there's none of that anymore.
You don't get any validation.
Nothing, dude.
Up front, no.
So weird how that works. You get the best feeling though is you get those hugs and those tears at the end of the summer where, you know, some kid that's 20 years old just made $100,000.
Yeah.
And it's because of you.
Yep.
And that's why you do it.
That's exactly why you do it. Yeah.
So.
Let me ask you this. What advice would you have for someone in the door-to-door space who is going out to step into a leadership role for the first time?
Advice, dude. You know, I would say like, just understand you won't do everything perfect and it's going to be okay. Like,
it's going to be okay. That's so big.
Yeah, it's going to be okay. Like, you're going to fail. Yeah. It's going to be hard. Use your leaders, right? But just like selling, you will probably suck at it like your first year. And the next year you'll probably get better. And the next year you'll get better. It's the same thing with recruiting, right? Like your first recruiting meeting you're going to suck at. And then you'll get better and better and better. So my first year managing, I sucked. Like now that I look back, I did so many things wrong. But that's why I said earlier, right? Like if you're out leading by example and you're doing those things, you can mess up. But if you're just hanging back and like pretending to lead and like on a team, usually if it's your first year managing, it's a smaller team, guys can see straight through the bullshit.
Yeah.
So just be okay failing, dude. It's going to be okay.
It's all going to be okay.
Yep.
I love it.
So,
well, Zach, you're a dog. I appreciate you. One
dude.
of the biggest up and coming names in the industry, an absolute legend on the doors and a better person off the door. So appreciate you, brother.
Thanks for having me on, bro.
Big love.